history, we're going to start by reviewing all our maps, starting with the northeast.
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland, Delaware.
Hey, it sounds like you guys are asleep. Are you awake? Wake up, stand up if you need to stand up, and nobody should be turning in their books because I already told you what page to be on. I'm talking to you. I don't like it if you're ignoring me. Yeah, and I said leave it alone. Please leave it alone. If you're half asleep, then stand up. Wake yourself up.
West Virginia, Virginia, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Arkansas, Louisiana, Florida.
There we go. Wake you up and mixing them up for you.
Michigan, Wisconsin, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas,
Great, not bad. All right, now the west.
New Mexico, Arizona, Oklahoma, Texas,
The newest.
Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Hawaii, Alaska.
All right, now I'm going to do the whole thing. All right, make sure I can see the whole thing on the camera. There we go.
Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, New York, Massachusetts.
What is this one?
Massachusetts.
You guys get used to me going a certain order. I don't always go in that order, so pay attention to what I'm pointing to. You need to sit up now. Both of you. If you cannot see, I don't want you laying down to see, stand up to see. Alright, so this one is Massachusetts. Itty bitty one?
Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Louisiana, Arkansas, Tennessee, Kentucky, North Dakota, South Dakota, Nebraska, Kansas, Minnesota, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona, Oklahoma, Texas, New Mexico, Washington, Oregon, California, Nevada, Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Alaska, Hawaii.
Oh, it's looking really good for the next test. If you don't know those, if you're just depending on everybody else to say them, then you better get busy studying them. Like, you better get busy studying them. Okay? Yes? In your book in the back. So I don't think you were really doing them with us, were you? Were you? Okay. All right, let's start on page 348. We are starting Laura Ingalls Wilder. Little House on the Prairie series. Many of you are familiar with the TV show. Originally, that was a book, okay, not a TV show. Okay, and that TV show came from her books. The books were written about her life. So that would be an autobiography. Did we already have that word under Booker T. Washington?
Yes.
He wrote an autobiography about his own life. Okay, so that is an autobiography. Laura Ingalls Wilder, The Big Woods. Charles and Caroline Ingalls and their daughters, Mary, Laura, and Carrie, lived in a little house in the big woods of Wisconsin. Their little house was built from logs that had been cut from trees in the big woods. Although no other people lived near them, the Ingalls family had plenty of neighbors. Bears, panthers, and wolves, as well as timid deer, squirrels, and rabbits, lived in the big woods with them. Were the girls ever afraid of their neighbors? Sometimes, but the Ingalls family knew they were safe and snug in their little house in the big woods. Because there were not many people living near them, the Ingalls family made the most of everything they had. Mr. Ingalls built the house and made the furniture. Mrs. Ingalls made clothes and cooked their food over the fire in the fireplace that warmed their home. The family did not have much, and times were often hard, but they worked together and helped each other. All right, and that is a replica, if you look there, that is a replica of what their house would have been like in the big woods of Wisconsin. Okay, so that's not the original house, they just rebuilt one that would be like it. And because her books have become so popular, I'm sure it's a tourist attraction. If you were to go to Wisconsin, you would be able to find a whole tourist attraction of Laura Ingalls Wilder life and the life they lived when they lived in Wisconsin. Because we're going to find out they didn't stay there. Moving west. Oh, before we start this, let's go and do the important words. Because once we finish this paragraph, we'll need to move on to the next page. So, the important words at the bottom, read them with me. Prairie schooner, a covered wagon used by pioneers to travel west. And then, Great Depression, a troubled time in the 1930s when many people were out of work and hungry. And then Laura Ingalls Wilder, author of the Little House books. All right, now you can, oh, no, we gotta read first, sorry. Moving west. Let's see, you can see, we already did the map, but you can see Wisconsin, and you're gonna see they moved to Minnesota, right? They're gonna move west from Wisconsin to Minnesota. You haven't turned the page yet, guys. You need to be where it says moving west. As time passed, more pioneer families began to move to Wisconsin. Now they had real neighbors. Like many pioneers during this time, the Ingalls family was ready to go to the next place. They moved often during Laura's life. Sometimes they moved because the land, turn the page now, was becoming too crowded. Sometimes they moved because the crops were hard to grow, or large swarms of grasshoppers came and ate their crops. And you would hear about that in some of the books. If you read some of the books, that's what happened, like on the banks of Plum Creek. That's what happened in that book. No matter where they moved, the family stayed close and everyone helped with the work. One day, Mr. Ingalls said, "It is time to move west." He built a prairie schooner that could carry the family to their new home. The family's dishes, clothes, food, and a few pieces of furniture were packed into the wagon. As the wagon wheels began to roll, the little house grew smaller until finally the girls could not see it anymore. And that is a picture of a prairie schooner. So it would have been pulled by horses or maybe oxen at times, depending on what they owned. And could they carry all their furniture in that?
No.
So they would have to pick and choose what they carried. Okay? Sickness comes to the Ingalls family. When the Ingalls family moved west to the prairie, they had a farm in Minnesota on the banks of Plum Creek. Mrs. Ingalls, Mary, Carrie, and their new little sister, Grace, became very ill with scarlet fever. The doctor came every day, and Mr. Ingalls and Laura took care of them. Everyone got well, but later, Mary's fever returned. Mary's high fever caused her to lose her eyesight. She would never see again. Mary was quiet and proper. Laura was a free spirit who was outgoing and had lots of energy. Even though they were opposite, they were very close, especially after Mary became blind. Laura promised herself that she would be Mary's eyes. Every new thing that Laura saw, she described it to Mary. Perhaps in this way, Laura learned to give beautiful descriptions she would later use when she became an author. She saw flowers, birds, and animals for Mary as she talked about them. Alright, so if you read her book, you will see she has such a wonderful way of describing what she is talking about that it makes it very enjoyable to read. And that probably came from when she was helping her sister see what was going on in the world around her once she could no longer see. Yes, Ben?
She'd probably have to use a lot of adverbs.
Adjectives, you mean?
Yeah, adverbs.
Yes, yes, she does do a good job with her adjectives. Alright, now we're going to do Math Skills 22. So go ahead and shut your books, but don't take the time to put them away, please. Math Skills 22, and you're going to need a ruler today. Because we're going to talk about, on maps, they use what's called a distance scale. Because can they make a map that's as big as the country? No, so they use a distance scale, and they'll tell you that maybe a half an inch is equal to a mile, or something like that, or a half an inch is equal to 100 miles if the map is big enough, and things like that. So that's what we're going to do on this. This is just a map of a place, like a camp. It is actually called Camp Woods. Oh, that's very cool. Camp Woods. So we're going to measure the distances, and it's saying that 1 inch is equal to
1 mile.
1 mile. That's written at the bottom. 1 inch is equal to 1 mile. So on Map Skills 22, which is page 43, some of you seem to be having a hard time finding it. Map Skills 22, which is on page 43. Yes, Jonathan, please
This
raise
is
your hand.
very unrealistic. The cabins are 6 miles apart.
You would get in a lot of hiking, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Alright, so the first thing they're asking us in the questions is how far is the hiking trail from the boys' cabins? So you're going to be measuring from a dot to a dot. So if you find the dot that says boys' cabin and you find the dot for the hiking trail, you want to use your rulers to measure that out. Raise your hand when you get the answer. Olivia, how far was it?
2 miles.
Okay, how far was it when you measured it? It was
2
inches. So therefore 2 inches would be 2 miles. You would write 2 miles. If you don't know how to spell miles, just look right at the bottom where it says 1 inch equals 1 mile. You just add an S because it's 2 miles. Yes.
Do we draw a line?
No, you're not drawing a line. You're going to measure. And it said it was. She said it was 2 inches. So you're going to write 2 miles. I said you put your book on top of your history book. Please put your math skills on top of your history book. There you go. Yes. You want to do the next one? All right. How far is the dining hall from the chapel? So again, the dot for the chapel, the dot for the dining hall. Okay, because it was 1 inch. When she measured it, it was 1 inch, so that would be 1 mile. Maya, stop doing that, please, and get busy.
Where's the 1 mile?
The word mile is at the bottom of the page where it says that 1 inch equals 1 mile. See, right there. So that's how you spell mile. So if you don't know how to spell mile, look at the bottom of the picture, and it says that 1 inch is equal to 1 mile. There's the word mile to copy. But if you're saying 2, then that's miles with an S. Alright, then they're going to ask you how far are the girls' cabins from the bonfire. So find the dot for the bonfire, the dot for the girls' cabins. What was the measurement? Lily?
4 miles.
Okay, the measurement was actually what?
4 inches.
Which is going to be
4 miles.
very good. I want you guys to tell me the measurement first, and that means it was 4 miles. Now you guys can put the number 4. You don't have to write the word 4. You guys understand that, right?
Yeah.
Alright, and then they asked how far is the dining hall from the horse trail? Tess kept raising her hand, so I'm going to let Tess do this one. Did you want to do this one, Tess? 3 inches is going to be 3 miles. Very good. 3 inches would be 3 miles. Then they say how far are the girls' cabins from the paddle boats? All right, if you've already done one, don't raise your hand again. Okay, I want to make sure I don't do 2 people. So Jonathan?
2.5 miles.
I don't think so.
2 miles.
just 2. How did you get 2 1/2, buddy?
I don't know.
Remember, sometimes your ruler doesn't start right away. You have to find that place where it's starting,
Like,
because there's a little excess.
It was a little after too. Like,
Okay, but that wasn't
That
2 1/2,
second-
because remember
that
that 2 1/2
second
would be
line.
halfway between the 2 and the 3.
oh.
So, it's not gonna be anything in a half range. And they're definitely not gonna throw 1/4 or 1/8 or 1/16 or 1/32 at you. They're not gonna do a fraction. Alright, so it is 2 miles. 2 inches, 2 miles. Now this time it's not measuring, it's direction. And if you look at the top right-hand corner, you're gonna see a compass rose. And you know that going up is
North.
going down is
South.
to the right is east, and to the left is
West.
and somewhere in between would be northeast, southeast, northwest, or southwest. Alright, so they're asking what direction is the swimming pool from the boys' cabin? So where are you gonna go first?
Boys
Yes, you need to go to the boys' cabins, because they're saying what direction, don't pull it out. They're asking what direction is the boys' cabins from the swimming pool? Or is the swimming pool from the boys' cabins? I'm sorry, I said that backwards. So you go to the boys' cabin first.
North.
Did you go to the boys' cabins first? Like you told me you were going to?
Went to the pool.
And I told you, you told me you're gonna go to the boys' cabin first. The boys' cabin,
South.
from the boys' cabin, yes, south.
South.
What direction is the swimming pool from the boys' cabin? So
South.
that means you go to the boys' cabin first, and you find out you have to go south to get to the swimming pool. Alright, what direction is the swimming pool from the girls' cabin? So this time you're gonna go where first? Girls' cabin. So Maya, east, very good, east. Now, if you walk from the girls' cabin, so you're gonna start at the girls' cabin to the bonfire, which direction would you go? So this time you're gonna start at the girls' cabin.
Northeast.
Yes, northeast, very good, because you're going up and to the right. From the girls' cabin to the bonfire would be up and to the right, so that would be northeast. And that is it. So you need to put that away as soon as you've written that.